I waited too long. Despite having 24 pairs of Parkhurst boots before, some I've now sold, this is my first Elmwood boot. And soon they won't be available anymore. How you going? Welcome back to Bootlosophy, and my name is Tech. And I'm working on Wajak country here in Western Australia, Kalyakul Wajak Nongabuja. Now this is a pair of Elmwood boots from Parkhurst. This is their Chelsea boot model. Despite having collected Parkhurst boots since 2020, I've never actually bought a pair of their Elmwood Chelseas before. And I picked this up in their seconds and samples page in February of 2026 because, well, just because. And spoiler alert, I am blown away by it. However, Andrew Savisco, the owner of Parkhurst, recently announced that he is retiring this model. So by the time you see this, you may not be able to buy it anymore, other than perhaps any few remaining pairs on their seconds and samples page. I'll leave a link to their Parkhurst website below. It is a free bit.ly link, which means that you may be directed to a warning page, but if you allow it to run through, it will direct you there. Bit.ly just wants me to make me pay a sub for their services, so they make the free service a bit difficult. Now Andrew, he's had a love-hate relationship with the Elmwood, which came out while he was still manufacturing in his partner factory in Batavia in upstate New York in the US. When Parkhurst launched and started to get a following for his plain toe Allen and cap toe Richmond service boots, people asked him about Chelsea boots. But after producing the Elmwood, he found them very slow to shift, which is not great for a small boot brand that can't afford to tie up capital in slow-moving stock. Over time, especially when manufacturing moved to Spain, sales of the Elmwood finally picked up. But I gather it hasn't really been a sellout model like his Allens and his Richmonds. I am a bit sorry I came late to the party, especially in this now old 618 last, which is such a great fit. I keep saying Chelsea boot, but for those of you who don't know, this is a Chelsea boot design or an elastic-sided boot. There are no laces, so the boot is kept on your feet by the shape of the design and the elastic sides which stretch to allow you to slip your feet in and out and then to shrink back to keep them tight around your ankles. They were first invented by Queen Victoria's bootmaker, Joseph Sparks Hall, who made a walking and riding boot for the young Queen that didn't need a lot of buttons, laces and hooks to do up. You can go and see my video of my favorite Chelsea boots for a further discussion of their history. Over time, they became popular as a quick on and off riding and casual boot, as well as a working boot for horse dealers and traders. And it's said that they eventually got their name Chelsea boots when they were worn by the pop groups of the 60s, such as the Beatles, who lived in and around the royal borough of Kensington and Chelsea in London. It has effectively a 5-inch high shaft measured from the top of the heel. Being laceless, the pattern is cut really quite sleek over the instep, and the foot is allowed to get in and out by the addition of elastic side panels or goring. The pull tabs allow you to pull the opening open, and the goring needs to be elastic enough to snap shut basically to keep them tight around your ankle. Apart from that, it's really a simple design. The pattern consists of a vamp piece that covers the whole front of the foot, and it's stitched to the two rear quarter pieces just under the goring here and here. At the back, the rear stitch is protected by a single piece backstay. Now this particular model of the Elmwood has a Commando outsole, but in most of the Elmwoods that were produced by Parkhurst, they used a day-night-like studded outsole. Parkhurst is now an established brand, so if you're a follower, buyer and collector of boots, you will know the brand. Quite early in the piece, I interviewed Andrew Savisco, and you can go watch that because it gave I think a great insight into some of his early struggles. For those who don't know though, or who are new to the boot world, Parkhurst was founded by Andrew in 2018. not that long ago. He was a former stock analyst with no professional boot-making experience, and he launched a brand with a focus on trying to source the materials domestically in the US. And he started with a small batch direct-to-consumer model that allowed him to keep prices for premium Goodyear welted boots below US $400. The brand's initial years were focused on establishing a unique fit, with Andrew developing his own proprietary lasts from the 18 to the 602 and so on, to ensure a slim, comfortable profile that differed from the typical bulky American work boot. Early production took place in Batavia, New York, but the COVID pandemic severely impacted the supply chain, forcing the brand to adapt or risk closure. Facing the COVID-caused closure of his initial partner factory, Andrew pivoted and forged new partnerships with skilled traditional shoemakers in Spain and Portugal to ensure the continuation of the brand. Following the production pivot, 2024 marked a true rebirth for Parkhurst, with increased stock levels and the introduction of new durable construction methods like stitch down, while retaining the Goodyear welt in other models. Today, Parkhurst still operates as a small batch manufacturer using premium sourced leathers from tanneries like Horween and Charles F. Stead, and where final assembly and finishing still often take place in their Buffalo, New York warehouse. Let's dive into how this boot is put together. As usual, I'll start from the bottom and work my way up. The rubber outsole in this version is a proprietary Commando Lugged Sole that's sourced in Spain. It has the usual radiating lugs and cross lugs in the middle, but the lugs are kept a little inboard, like a Vibram 430 mini lug sole, so as to keep the profile a little more subtle when you see it from the side. They are definitely deeper than the 430 mini lugs though, and the design of keeping them inboard also allows them to be stitched through around the edges without having to go up and down the lugs. It is a full slip outsole going all the way through to the back under the heel stack. The heels are built on the back of the outsole with 3 stacks of Veg-Tanned Benz leather and then a Commando lugged rubber top lift, all glued and nailed together. Most of Parkhurst's Elmwood versions use a proprietary rubber studded outsole similar to famous Day-Night to keep that sleek look. Moving on up, but inside the boot, it's put together using the Goodyear welt method of construction. Now, if you want to dive deeper into what that is, go and watch my video on Goodyear Welted Boot Construction 101. Suffice it to say here that the uppers and the sole construction are stitched together through the medium of a welt. That's a thin strip of veg-tan leather that's used to stitch the insides of the boot to the inside edge of the welt, and the sole layers are stitched to the outside edge of the welt. This welt is said to be 360 degrees, meaning it goes all the way around the boot. It's actually really well stitched with very even, reasonable number of stitches per inch, and the welt has a lip that's pushed up against the side of the boot for extra water resistance. Goodyear welting itself is water resistant, and it can be soled by your cobbler, cutting the outside stitch and then peeling the sole off and then applying a new sole and restitching it back. Inside, between the welt and the outsole, is a midsole. This is made from Veg-Tanned Benz leather as well. In the cavity in the middle of the boot that's caused by the welt that goes around the edge, Parkhurst inserts a steel shank between the heel and the forefoot and a layer of cork to fill that cavity. On top of that, inside the boot, is the actual insole, also made of Veg-Tanned leather. The idea of the leather and cork sandwich is that it gives a bit with wear and molds to the shape of your feet as your weight bears on to the top of the sandwich. This is, most people say, uncomfortable at first and needs breaking in, but eventually it's shaped to your feet so it becomes very comfortable. If you are new to heritage boots and used to sneakers or foam-filled cement construction shoes, it is firm and uncomfortable at first, so beware. Continuing to move upwards inside the boot, it is leather lined, and at the heel, the leather heel counter is covered by a rough out cover for grip at the heel. At the front though, the toe puff is Celastic. That's a thermoplastic that shapes with heat at about 100 Celsius, So it's not going to deform much, but over time may fracture. The elastic panels or goring is tightly knit with a tighter weave than normal, and I believe this is made from Gore-Tex, which is a water-resistant, if not waterproof material. In this model, it's built on Parkhurst's 618 last, which is a combination last. Now, a last is the mold around which the boot is built. This one is slim. I think it's B width at the heel and waist. And then it broadens out to a double E width at the ball of the foot, and then slims down again into an almond-shaped toe box. In my opinion, it's a beautifully sleek last that's also comfortable because it grips the back of your foot, but is wide enough at the ball not to squish your bones. The uppers that wrap around the last to form the boot, they're made from Spanish tanned full veg-tanned leather, no chromium tanning. It's in a colorway called tobacco and has a rich oil finish in the tanning, which means it arrives in a darker color than it is now, and then moves around so much that you get some intense color variation as soon as you put it on and move in it. I think it really will patina well. It's soft in the hand and also with a light to medium temper or stiffness, so is supportive but comfortable to wear. As I said at the beginning, this is a factory sample boot, originally made as a factory sample to test like manufacturing techniques and the design itself. Parkhurst's second-hand samples page is very transparent about what you get with the seconds or samples. And in this case, the note said that there would be some scratches and a little unevenness in the oil application. And it noted that the Commando sole was a tryout. Well, as you can see, there were some minor scratches being movements of the oil around, but after wearing this for a month or so, it all blends into the patina. Very quickly, how might you care for this boot? One of the things that annoy me about Commando Lugged Soles, despite all the advantages of grip and comfort and looks, is the way small stones and seeds get caught between the lugs. So, there you go. So, one of the first things to do to care for this boot is to regularly prise out the aforesaid stones and seeds. It keeps the rubber lugs in good condition if you can clean them up. As for the leather, this really is an oily leather. Not that it leaves oil on your hands, it just feels waxy when you drag your hand over it. So to stop it picking up dirt and dust that might stick to the surface, and certainly inside the folds and stitching, I'd make sure to brush these regularly with a good horsehair brush. If not after every wear, then at least once a week, I think, particularly if you're wearing these quite often. If they do pick up like mud and wet dirt, wait until it dries and then use a stiffer brush to brush the dried dirt off. Even a toothbrush might help. And then use a damp rag to wipe and remove the rest. Let it dry and then brush again. If you want to, this will easily take a good saddle soaping without worries. Being oily, you don't really need to condition them all the time, but certainly after being saddle soaped, or depending how often you wear them, maybe every 3 or 4 or 6 months. Personally, I'd use R.M. Williams' leather and saddle dressing, which is formulated for greasy leathers. That's not their leather conditioner, which is for drier, full grain leathers, but their saddle dressing. Rub it in sparingly. A couple of thin coats is better than a thick gloop. Let it soak in overnight and then brush off the excess, and then brush again. I will leave a link to RM's care products below as well. Talking about sizing may seem a bit superfluous if Parkhurst is discontinuing this boot. But the 618 last may continue, so you may find a discussion about the fit useful. I believe the 618 last is going to go on for a bit, moving on from the old 602M. I find the 618, this one, is really great for my shaped feet. The old 602M I thought had a bit too much volume around the top of the ball of my feet, and I tend to have to wear them with thick socks to fit better. I have not tried sizing down, and frankly, I don't think I would, because it's a volume thing, not a length thing. In terms of sizes, I measure 8.5 US on the Brannock device in D width. Parkhurst's standard widths in size 8 are fine for me because of their combination lasts. So take note, I size a half down from my Brannock size. If your feet are low volume, you might want to email Andrew to ask for his advice if you need to go down further. Personally, I wouldn't though. I just wear thick socks. As for comfort, like all Parkhurst models, they're ever so comfy. And I think in particular, this 618 combination last grips your feet at the back, but is wide at the ball, and that's really the reason. But then, so is the construction of leather cork leather layers, and in the reasonable thicknesses they come in, that allow a reasonable break-in and not those super thick sole leathers that take a bit to bend and shape. As I prepare to film the video, which will be some time before it actually gets scheduled on YouTube, the Elmwood is selling on the Parkhurst website for US $398. There are only 3 leather choices and limited sizes in each left as I look at the website. If Parkhurst has sold out the Elmwood and does not restock, then there may be seconds and samples available, but in even more limited sizes, and usually selling for around the US $300 mark. In my opinion, at the first price of 398 US, that's about 520 Aussie, they really compare well with other Chelseas like RM Williams at around 700 Aussie. You get good leathers, you also get a proper leather and cork sole construction. They will need a bit more break-in than the RMs would, but they will certainly last you for at least as long as the RMs. At the seconds prices of around 300 US, if you can get them, and considering that I bought several pairs of seconds from Parkhurst where I literally could not figure out what was marked or what was wrong in them, I think that represents good value, especially if they never come around again. Now, before we go any further, I am saying that in my opinion, I see them as good value. Not in any of my reviews have I ever said I recommend that you buy them. A few people have contacted me on Instagram saying that I recommended they buy a brand or something, and I should be sued for false promises. Yeah, right. I am a reviewer. I do reviews and I give you my opinion. Yes, I do include affiliate links for a little extra income, but I never recommend. I never make promises. You know, I once mistakenly clicked on a social media request to allow my video to be used in advertising, thinking that they might sample the video. Then I found that they took an edited version and put it out as a joint ad. I immediately asked them to take it down. In fact, in most of my videos, I emphasize that the experience is for me, or in my opinion, or my feet are different from yours. So take heed. I love Parkhurst, but you, be an adult, right? Make up your own mind. So, with that PSA, I hope you enjoyed this review. Click on like and subscribe and come back to the channel for more. Take care and see you again soon.